Welcome back, guys. It's Israel. Today I'm going to cover the daunting task of regex in C#. I know it can feel overwhelming and scary to dive deep into this topic. I know in the past I've put it off as well, but the great thing is now there are a lot of tools that make, breaking up the string easier so you can understand it, as well as a quick Google search will always give you a plethora of different regular expressions, but the key is actually being to understand what you're just copying and pasting and hoping it works. So what do I want you guys to actually take away from this video? I want to, first of all, go over the basics of regex, how to be more confident reading them so you can then pick the best regex for your situation, not just kind of throw one in there and hope for the best. So by the time we finish this video, I want you more confident about regex, what the most common characters and their functions are, as well as some tools that you can use to be able to read regex more confidently. So in general, this topic isn't as scary, and I hope that that's what you can take away from this video. So let's get into it. But quickly, I just want to give shout out to all my channel members. If you want to see your name here, as well as get access to all the code from all my videos, click the link in the description or the join button and send an email to this email with the code that you want access to. But now, onto the video. So regex in C#. So I'm mainly going to be focusing on C#. That's going to be the example because that's, one of the main focuses on my channel. But regex and regular expressions are present in a lot of programming languages and they can be used in a variety of different ways. But I'm going to be focusing on, especially in my example, in using C#. So what is regex? Regex, or regular expressions, is a way to parse text to try and find patterns in it, usually for matching, verifying, manipulating, or extracting text, and we're going to do some examples of that when we get to the code section. It usually looks like a sequence of characters with some special symbols mixed in. So kind of how that example right there, it looks like that. And for someone that doesn't know what's really going on in there, don't know all the symbols, that can look extremely confusing and overwhelming, and you're just like, yeah, no, I'd rather just Google the answer because this makes no sense. So that is what I want you guys to feel more confident about reading. And in C#, you use the regex class library. So how do you read regular expressions? Well, these are going to be the different kind of types of characters. And then we'll go in a little bit deeper using a cheat sheet that I found on exactly what each individual one does. But this is going to be kind of like all the different categories of characters that make up a regular expression. So first, there will be literal characters that represent exactly what they are. An example is just an A equals A. Meta characters, which are characters that mean something other than what they are. So this can be like the pipe character, which is the line, the straight vertical line, the caret, which is a little hat, or the $sign. They all mean different things, and we'll get into what those are in a second. You can combine these characters and meta characters to make sequences, like we just saw in the previous example of that very long string. When you combine them together, they make a regular expression. You then have quantifiers, which are symbols that say how many times the next element should occur. Example of these are the asterisk, the plus sign, question mark, and then the curly braces. A character set means that a set of characters are allowed to match at that position. So again, like the little brackets, and then there will be, characters inside of that. That'll be a character set. Anchors are characters that specify a position in the text where the match should appear. So for a lot of real world examples, you'll have both kind of the little caret hat and then the $sign at the end, and we're matching everything in between there. So we want a specific match. Or if you just use one or the other, then it could be at the beginning or at the end. We then have parentheses, can be used to group parts of the regex together. And we will see an example of that later on, where essentially you can say, I want to group this section together of the string, and then you're able to extract those out if you need them. So an example of a match would be, if I move my camera so you guys can see, would be something like parentheses and then XYZ. Next up, we have the pipe symbol. The pipe symbol is, again, the vertical line. This acts as an OR, allowing you to match one pattern or the other. Regex, for the most part, is case sensitive. So, if you have a lowercase a, it means lowercase a. If you have a capital A, it means capital A. And then you have the backslash. The escape character allows special characters to be treated as normal characters. And we'll see examples of all of these in a second when we get to the cheat sheet. So what are some common use cases? You guys know me. I like whenever I give you guys a topic to have actual real world examples so you guys actually can connect these tutorials or this simple example to something you would actually see at work. And, something that you would do at work is validate emails, phone numbers, credit card numbers, that they're actual valid in their format. Not, I guess, if they're an actual valid number that you can call or a credit card that you can use, much more the structure is correct to be used. Also, you can use regex to replace strings and fix them in the case of phone numbers for different countries. You might need to add in some type of area code or something of that nature, or removing characters you don't want in a string, such as spaces, backslashes, or whatever that may be. So like I said, removing white spaces can also be done, and many more things with regex. And now let's go to the cheat sheet, and we're going to go over the individual symbols so that you guys can also not just understand the different types of characters, what each one does, so that then once we put them together, we can look at a string and actually break it apart and understand why it reacts and is able to match or do what it does whenever we actually use it in our C# code. So let's go to the cheat sheet. Before we go to the cheat sheet, the first resource I want to bring up to you guys is this tutorial on regex in Tutorials Teacher, and it will be linked down below. Me reading through this helped me a lot back in the day whenever I wanted to learn more about just regex. This is an extremely good resource where you'll see like, okay, this means this, and then you can scroll down here and see an actual example. And this is very good for actually understanding what each individual one does. But I'm going to go to the cheat sheet. So this one will also be linked down in the description. So this is a regular expression cheat sheet. So we're going to see that we have these quantifiers. These are going to be these. So we see that something of this nature with the pipe is going to be an or. So we have A or B. So we're going to match A or B. The question mark is that it can be one or the other. A plus sign is going to be one or more. Asterisk, 0 or more. Asterisk question mark is basically 0 or more, but you stop after the first match. In the brackets says exactly n number of times. And then 2 of these is going to be from this to this number of times. And now we're going to get to the general tokens. These are going to be the very general characters that you're going to see a lot. So first we're going to have the period, which is going to be basically match any character. New line, which is going to match a new line in there. Tab is going to match a tab. Lowercase s matches any white space character. So this could be a blank or a space in your word. It's going to be matching here. And then pay attention. Again, lowercase, uppercase. Uppercase is basically the opposite, so it'll match any non-white space character, so it'll match any letter. And then again, in the same kind of form, we have lowercase w matches any word character, uppercase w, any non-word character. So like, a number or something of that nature. And then a word boundary, non-word boundary. And then we have a hat, which is the start of a line, and then the end of a line. So you just go at the beginning and at the end. And then this is just the literal character, the backslash. Next, we have some patterns of collection. So again, you have the little brackets, and then you'll have capital A to Z, means you're matching any letter from capital A to capital Z. This does not include lowercase. This one right here includes lowercase. Then in here, you're matching any number. Here, you're, again, specifically matching these letters. So A, S, D, F. If there's no E, you're not matching E. And then if you put this basically makes it a not. So basically you're not matching anything here. And then we can skip these. Now grouping, this is another one that we're going to see in the example. So basically this makes a capture group. So essentially, basically anything in here will be captured, and then you can access that group later. And then this will be a non-capture group where we group these together, but we don't actually want to store them for later. And I think down here we have negative look ahead, positive look ahead, negative look behind, and positive look behind. And I think with this cheat sheet, it'll be very easy for you to piece apart a regex and kind of figure out what each one of these mean. And we're going to see the majority of these used in our examples in a second. But I wanted to go over kind of this cheat sheet so you guys could see a lot of these. And like I said, this tutorials teacher is also a very good that shows a lot of different examples for the majority of these on the cheat sheet, and you can just go more in depth and understand this a little bit more. But now let's actually go to 3 examples that I have for you guys that are real world things that you'll probably see in the workplace. All right, guys, so we are at the C# project. This is just a console app, nothing crazy here. I have 3 different examples for you guys. The first 2 are going to be more matching using regex. The third one is going to be actually replacing characters in a string with something else using regex. So the first example that we have is how can we verify a valid email address? I'm sure all of you guys have seen when you go on some sort of website and you type your email out, the box will go red until you type your valid email in there. And usually they use Regex for this. So this is going to be a simple Regex for actually, figuring out if the email that you're typing is legit or not. If you go on Google, if you do any of that sort of nature, you're going to get some monster versions that cover every type of email under the sun. We are doing a simple version of that because otherwise it'd be, 100 characters if we went over every single version. So we're going to do a simple one and break it down so that you guys get the gist of Regex and what we're doing here and how this actually works in the real world. So the first thing I want to do is I actually want to go through and break this string down so that then when we get here and we actually check if they're matches or not, you guys understand why and what it's doing. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the system text regular expressions. This is what C# needs to actually use the regex library. And now let's start actually breaking this string down by using our cheat sheet as well. So as we can see, we have this regex. And it's going to take something like this, which is my email. In case you guys become members, this is where you guys have to email to get access to code. So take note of that. But this is something that we would pass in, like a valid email or a non-valid email. And we would need this regex to actually check, hey, is this good or is it not good? So let's start with this regex and let's explain it. So first, the @ is just for the string. And then we have the little hat. What does the little hat mean? It means that we have to start our match from right there. So start of the line, that's where we start our match. Next, we have the brackets. What do the brackets do? They match any character inside of here. So first thing, we're matching any letter that's lowercase from A to Z. Then the next part is any letters from capital A to capital Z are valid. Next, we have any numbers from 0 to 9. So again, we are matching any of these right here, if you see that. And then in here, we're also saying that we're allowing these symbols as well. Don't confuse this period for this one as a match. It's inside of there. So what you're doing is you're collecting patterns in here, the pattern collections. So in here, you're matching everything inside of it. So it's lowercase letters, uppercase letters, 0 to 9, periods, the underscore, percentage, plus, minus, all of those are valid in this first part of the email. Next, we have the plus sign, which is a quantifier, which basically means we want one or more matches of what came before it. And then we have the @ sign, which this is the actual literal @ character. So when you do, at Gmail, that is what we're matching here. And then we have another character set. So in here we have, again, we're matching now, after the @ in your email, we're matching lowercase A to Z, uppercase A to Z, 0 to 9, and then again, period and dash. All of those can come after the @ symbol. Next, what we have here is we have another quantifier. And then what comes after that? This is not the matching period of any character. This is the literal period. So the period of .com, .gov, whatever it may be, that is what we have here. And that's why you have to put the backslash here so that it makes it the literal character. And now we're matching the final part of an email. And that again is another character set. And that's lowercase A to Z, uppercase A to Z. But then we are adding this right here. And what is this? This 2 to 6 is a quantifier right here. And what does it do? From N to M number of times. So from 2 to 6, that is how many characters we're allowing in there. So from 2 characters to 6 characters, that can be lowercase A to Z or uppercase A to Z. So how does that make sense? It's because we're allowing com, gov, mail, whatever it could be after the dot. We want to make sure that it's only up to 6 characters. And like I said, this doesn't cover every single type of email in the world, but it's a basic starting point. So now let's test why this one would work and why this one wouldn't work. Well, obviously this one works because it's letters and numbers all before here. Makes sense, right? And we have our @ and then we have Gmail. So that also fits in here. And then we are matching period to period. And then com is 3 letters that are in here and no more. But what if we did com with a bunch of M's? Well, this would fail because this is more than 6. Or what if we added symbols in here that we weren't covering? That would also fail. or if we added, a percent sign in here, that would also fail. So if we go through here, and let me comment the rest of this out, and now we wanted to verify these results, we would see the following. We would see that obviously the second would fail and the first would be true. Why? Because this is a valid email and the second one has a bunch of M's that make it go over the 6 mark. But if we set this back, and now let's say we added, I don't know, something like this in the middle of this would also fail. But the second that I get this back and we set it again, we get true, true. So that is how you read this valid email address regex. So now let's move on to our second example. But before we go to the second example, if you guys have found this video helpful, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the other amazing content that I have for you guys. But now to the second example. So the second example is going to be, how can we verify a valid US phone number? Again, this is something very, basic in form entry or whatever it may be. You want to verify that whatever the person's typing is a valid phone number. For whatever services you may have, you need to be able to send out automated text or whatever it could be. You need a valid phone number, okay? So now let's go ahead and break down this regex. So let me bring up the cheat sheet. So first off, we have, again, the string literal. Then we have the hat. And I don't know if I said this for the first one, but we have the $sign at the beginning. And that basically says, like it says right here, is that we want to match from the start of the line to the end of the line. So everything in between, we want a perfect match. So the first part here is it's going to be a digit. So \D is for digit. And then we want 3. In this set, we only want 3 digits. Then the next part is we're allowing a dash, a period, or a space with the \S that is for a white space character. So we're saying basically after our 3 digits, we can have any of these, but this question mark basically means that it's optional. So you can have these 3, but it's optional. That's what this means. So you could have, 214, which is the area code for Dallas, and then you could have a dash, a period, a space, or you could just, keep the numbers all together. Like if you wanted to write out the whole number without any spaces or symbols, you could do that as well. Then next, we have another 3 digits. So that's all this means. And then again, we are allowing them to do exactly the same thing. Add a dash, a dot, a space, and it's optional. And then finally at the end, we have 4 digits. So that would mean that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1, 2, 3 would match this right here. Then we are allowing a dash right here, but we could also take it out and that would be valid as well. Or we could do that, or we could do that. But if we add the dash and then we're matching again the next 3 here, right there are these 3. And then at the end, we are matching these 4. All right, so now let's actually check if this number right here will be valid for this regex right here. So make sure that you have regex 2 here and answer 2 in here so that we can actually print out the response. Let's run it. And as we can see, for the third true is for this one. But let's say we changed it to be all together. According to this right here, this should also be fine. Let me save it. And let me run it again. And as we can see, we are also getting true, even if we have no symbols or spaces or anything of that nature. But let's say we wanted to split this up with a tab and a tab. And we save that. We see that that is now false. So this doesn't work because these are tabs, not a space, a dot, a dash, or nothing. Okay, so now we are at our last example. This is going to be we get a credit card value and we're going to replace the first chunk of digits with asterisks and only show the last 4 to kind of protect the user's information. So I'm sure you guys, whenever you are buying something online, they ask you to put in your credit card information. And then once you kind of get approved that it's a valid credit card, it'll then change the whole credit card number to asterisks, except for like the last 4, so that you know which card is being applied. So we're essentially going to do that exact same thing using regex. So we have a regex expression right here. We have our sample credit card number right here, and then we're going to be replacing it and then printing it out using regex.replace. Again, we use regex.isMatch because we were matching, but here we're actually using regex to replace pieces of this string with what we want. So let's start breaking down this regex. So again, we have the @ for the string. Now we actually get into the regex. So here we have our first set of parentheses. So if you look at this parentheses right here and this one right here, the important part is the question mark, the colon, and the two parentheses. If we go to our cheat sheet, this means it's a group. So we are a non-capture group. So we essentially do not want to keep track of the values in here for further use in the future. And you'll see what I mean in a second. So basically everything in here, we're only using for regex purposes, but not because we need these values in the future. So that's what basically this means when it's the parentheses, question mark, colon, and everything inside. So what's all inside? It means that we're doing right here, \d is digits. So 0 to 9, and then we want 4. So we want 4 numbers in here. That lines up with 4. And then we look at the next part, and we are, again, very similar to the number. We're allowing a dash, a period, and a space. And they are optional, so you can add in these, or you can have none of it. Then we get to the end, and we now get out here. What does this 3 mean? What this 3 means is that we can repeat this 3 times. So exactly n number of times right here. So that means that we're going to repeat this pattern 3 times. So 1, 2, 3 are going to have the exact same regex pattern match right here. So it'll be 4 digits, allow a dash, period, or space, and they're optional, and then 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and now we get to this last one, and now we have a different pattern for it. But that pattern ends up being very simple, except for one difference, is that here we just have parentheses, not question mark, colon, just parentheses. So we actually want to capture this group. In this capture group, that means that we actually want these values later. We want to be able to access them. So we want to be able to access those 4 digits later, the 4 last digits. So with that being said, how do you access them? Well, you do it right here with this $1. Since we only have 1 capturing in here, we do $1, and that captures these 4 values right here. So when we run this credit card through here, what should we expect? Well, we should expect it to grab 3, 4, 5, 6, and then add it to the end of all these asterisks, and then print it out here and replace it in this string when we pass it in here. Because as you can see in this replace method, you first have your input, your pattern, and then what you're replacing it with. So you're replacing the credit card number, then you pass in this regex, and then you're passing in the replacement being this, but we want to insert this number into there. So now let's run it and see what happens. So as we can see here, we get asterisk, 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 3, 4, 5, 6, which are the last letters of that. So that is how a capture group works, and you can actually access variables that come from your regular expression. So those were the 3 examples that I had for you guys today. I really hope this video allows you guys to feel more confident when approaching regex, and maybe you're not writing these from scratch, but if you find them online, you're able to actually piece by piece break them down and see if they actually match what kind of case you're looking for your regex to then be applied. And I hope you guys just feel more confident about it, and you guys can use all these different resources. They're all going to be linked down below. You have the cheat sheets, and there's a lot more that I'm going to link down below that all can help you read regex and explain them better so that they don't seem as scary. And I hope that this video was of good use. But if you want to learn more, maybe you want to go learn about microservices, click this video up here. But if you want to just check out what YouTube picks out for you, click the other video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.